Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today I have 3 stories for you from the Stories About Kevin subreddit. Before we start that, if you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's completely free and you can always change your mind later. Alright, on to the stories, let's jump right in. This story comes to us from HeavyAd9344, when Kevin confuses me with his mom. My freshman year of college, I started dating a guy who turned out to be a major Kevin. We met at a party and he seemed nice enough and we hit it off. I thought he was kinda sweet in a dorky sort of way, and he paid a lot of attention to me, and me, being a dumb girl right out of high school, thought it was cute. After a couple of weeks, we started dating. I was barely 19 and he was 23. This was several years ago, so I don't remember every single Kevin moment, but his general behavior seemed totally devoid of regular common sense. His dream was to be a neurosurgeon and was getting straight A's in advanced anatomy and physics classes and chemistry classes, so he clearly wasn't stupid. He was just a Kevin. A few of the examples of his Kevin behavior. I was a performance major and he couldn't understand why I wasn't okay with making out in practice rooms. Every time he would try, I would say, "I'm not doing this in a practice room," and he would heave a sigh and back off. But the next time he knew I was practicing, he would come to see me and try again. Like somehow it was the timing that was off and not the fact that we're in a public building in a hallway of rooms that are used day and night by performance majors, and that all the doors have large windows. One time, he came to watch one of my performances, but showed up late and somehow entered through the backstage door instead of the main auditorium. In the middle of the performance, he sees me and starts loudly calling out to me from the side wing. He couldn't understand why everyone was hushing him. And later, when I asked why he didn't go through the main door, he said, "I didn't realize there was a difference." Once, we went to the store together to grab some dinner and we were passing by the candy aisle. He suddenly stops what he's doing and starts grabbing every large box of chocolates off of the middle shelf and shoving them into his cart. I'm talking armfuls of large boxes of chocolates. I stared at him in confusion for a few moments and then asked, "What are you doing?" And he says with an excited look on his face, "These are only $2. He was looking at the sign for the items on the shelf above, which were tiny bags of single-serve candy. When I pointed this out, he argued with me for several minutes about it, even though literally everything else in the store has the price listed directly under the product, not over it. He would often talk about how he couldn't understand why his ex left him, because I even bought her a puppy, as if that was the solution to all relationship issues. He couldn't understand how his personality, DUIs, and disrespect of boundaries played into any of it. He would always go back to, "But I bought her a puppy." Turns out his ex never even wanted a puppy. About a month into dating him, I went home on Christmas break, and that's when crap hit the fan. After everything was over, I found out he had been planning on driving to my hometown about 5 hours away on Christmas Eve so that he could surprise me Christmas morning by proposing. This never ended up happening because we got into a fight. He started saying "I love you" at the end of our phone conversations, and I wasn't okay with saying it back. I told him I wasn't there yet. When I explained that I wasn't comfortable saying "I love you" yet, he blew up at me over the phone, saying the fact that I wasn't ready to say it back to him was evidence that I was cheating. I was shocked, since this was the first time he had ever been angry with me, and he went right to cursing me out and calling me all sorts of terrible names. I hung up crying, and about 30 minutes later he called back with the typical "I'm so sorry, I love you baby, I'll make it up to you" garbage. I went home and talked to my mom about it because I was shook. She convinced me it was a major red flag and to be cautious moving forward. The thing is, my dad has the same temperament and was extremely to my mother and us kids, and I did not want to be with someone who reminded me of my dad in any way. This is where the title comes in. Kevin seemed to have the opposite idea of dating someone like his parents. After we were officially dating, he told me that what originally drew him to me was that I reminded him so much of his mom. Now, obviously, that's a turnoff, but then I met his mom, and I have no idea what similarities he saw in us. We were nothing alike, but he kept pointing out things as if they were obvious. Random stuff like, "You both have long hair," and "Both of your favorite colors is purple," and "Your cooking is so good." At first, I brushed it off as a weird quirk or something, but this fight put everything into perspective for me. When I called him back finally, I tried to explain to him that saying "I love you" holds a lot of weight and commitment to me, and that I wanted to make sure it was how I really felt before saying it. He kept arguing about how he couldn't understand why I couldn't say it back to him, that it feels totally natural, and that he just doesn't see how I don't already feel that way about him. I asked him, "What does saying "I love you" mean to you? Like, what makes you feel that you want to say that to me?" Then Kevin says the most jaw-dropping thing I've ever heard out of a grown man's mouth. "Well, I say it to my mom, so I feel like I should say it to you." This 23-year-old adult man thought that because I was so much like his mother, and he loves his mother, then that must follow that he loves me. I told him I needed time to think things over, and to please not love bomb me. I wanted a few days to clear my head. Rather than respect my request, he kept sending me flowers and texts. About a week after Christmas, I get a package from him. It was his Christmas gift to me. One was a burned CD, this was in the early 2000s, of all his favorite songs. Not mine, not the songs that we liked together, just his favorites. The second item was a pair of gaudy dress-up earrings, the kind that a 5-year-old wears when she wants to play princess. They were in his favorite color. Also, I don't wear jewelry that much as I dislike it, but the jewelry that I do wear is always small and dainty, because that's what I like. If I wear earrings, they are small studs. If I wear a necklace, it's a small chain with a little charm at the end. I'm not a flashy person, so these earrings were appalling to me. The last gift in the box was a picture in a frame. The frame was Christmas themed with Santa Claus and trees and reindeer all over the outside. It looked like it came from a Walmart after Christmas 50% off clearance rack. It was not cute at all. The picture inside was of him dressed in a suit and tie, standing in front of his Christmas tree smiling. He looked like he was getting a middle school picture taken or something. It was the last bit of nope that I needed, and I ended the relationship before I came back at the start of the new year. After everything went down, my sister told me that he had reached out to them before our fight to ask if he could spend Christmas Eve night at their house, so he could get up early and come over to my house on Christmas morning to propose. She had originally agreed, but once our fight started and she found out some of the things he said to me, she messaged him with, "What the heck is wrong with you?" after he cursed me out. She explained to him about my dad and about how that was a terrible move on his part, and how she's not sure he could ever come back from that unless he seriously grovels. She ended with, "OP doesn't want to date her dad." His only response to all this was, "It's a good thing I'm not her dad," winky smiley face. Last I knew, he's been married and divorced several times, still lives in the same small town working as a delivery driver, and every time his profile picture changes, there are about 6 versions of the same picture, because the first 4 to 5 are all oriented either upside down or sideways. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called Bony Unicorn. It says, "What happened to the good grades in college, but he's now a delivery driver? Of course, he messed it up somehow. I'm just curious how." OP responded to this one and said, "I honestly don't know what went down because I ended up moving to a different place and we didn't have any common friends. What I see of him is just updates on Facebook." Another commenter down below called Zenchick said, "I'm not defending this butthole's actions in any way, shape, or form. This guy was a train wreck. OP was super smart to get out of it so early. But I just wanted to say, if you do have a good relationship with a parent, it's completely normal to look for someone similar. although hopefully not physically similar. My dad was wonderful, and my husband has a similar temperament and sense of humor. My dad was a great man, and I'm very lucky to have someone who is similar in many ways. I just wanted to point out that it shouldn't be disturbing, but is rather fairly common. If they're physically similar, obviously, that is concerning. OP, I'm glad you were able to move on because it really sounds like this Kevin had absolutely no respect for your personal boundaries. You told him not to love bomb you, and he sent you flowers and texts over and over. And then he wanted to propose to you on Christmas Day? Ugh, this guy was pushing it. I was also surprised to hear that this guy was a delivery driver now after doing so well in school, but I'm also kind of glad to hear that he didn't become a neurosurgeon. This story comes to us from Damn Your Logic. Finally, a place to share my Kevin story. This was like 4 years ago, but the memory was unlocked by another post on a different sub yesterday, where I was informed this page exists. So I thought I'd share here with you fine people who understand my pain. Sorry, it's kinda long. There's so much to share, and I didn't even cover half of it. Context: my old roommate was dumb as a brick. He moved from New York City and had never driven a day in his life. He was mid-30s with a master's degree from Yale, but he had zero life skills because he went from being coddled endlessly by mommy, who moved closer to his school so she could cook every meal for him and do all his laundry, cleaning, etc. for him, to being married to a new mommy of a wife who left when she got tired of taking care of him. 1. His mom gave him her car so he could move out here, Colorado, and get to work at his very prestigious, high-earning sales job. In the 6 months he lived with us, he caused 7 different accidents and went through 5 different cars in the process. One was a hit and run of a car 1 block away from our house. He tried to lie but slipped, and we told the neighbor because he was trying to tell us the neighbor said it was fine and we didn't believe him. So in asking the neighbor, who was a friend, to confirm, we unintentionally sold him out. 2. He only ate gummy candy and Fiber One bars for meals, and he ruined almost everything he touched because he just didn't know how to use it. He also followed us around everywhere we went like a stray cat and would ask us things like, "How fast do you think these skis go?" Or, "Do I need to put laundry detergent in the dryer too?" Or, "All my dishes are dirty, what do I do?" All while rubbing his prestigious degree in our faces. He got a Tinder date and invited her over to cook for her. I don't know why he would do that because he didn't even know how to turn the stove on, let alone how to prepare food. He ended up cutting his fingertip off at the knuckle cutting potatoes. He couldn't get to the emergency room as neither he or his date had cars at the time, and we were all out doing other things. He forgot 911 or Uber were things and tried to walk there instead. But he didn't Google the address, so his plan was to just start walking and hope he ended up at the hospital. He bled out all over the kitchen and floors and carpet, and he didn't even bother to act like he was going to clean it up. He just asked if we were going to clean it up soon because it was gross to look at. Also, he wandered to the emergency room without the fingertip, and he seriously asked if they could still make it look like it looked before. He told us the doctor got mad at him for asking, and he didn't understand why. Like, sure buddy, they just have a drawer full of fingertips. Go pick the one that matches best. Frankly, I'm mostly just shocked he even got there at all. We didn't live anywhere near a hospital. The closest one was like 7 miles away. 4. We as a household were throwing a Super Bowl party for like 20-ish people. We had a big living room and just installed a large projector, so we were the spot for fights and games. We were all contributing something, and it was a potluck, so everyone brought something even if it was just utensils or soda. He said he'd help make the mozzarella sticks I was planning to make. I thought that was weird, but let him. We both stood with the trash can at one hip with the counter between us. He kept peeling open the string cheese and handing me the plastic, despite being closer to the trash than he was to me. When I asked what he was contributing, he said he didn't want to spend any money. We asked if he could walk across the street to the liquor store on the opposite corner for a single bag of ice, and he said it was too far. It was directly across the street from our backyard. You could wave at the cashier. We told him he wasn't allowed to eat any of the food or drink any drinks if he didn't contribute this time. Anytime my other roommate caught him grabbing food, he would take the plate and say, "Thanks for making me a plate, that was so nice of you." He even took the fork out of his hand at one point as it was on its way to his mouth. This happened 7 or 8 times before he figured it out. 5, he insisted that he come grocery shopping or run errands with us, but he would follow us silently with his hood pulled up and wouldn't engage with us at all until we got back to the car. My roommate's car was a 2-door, so you have to let the person in the back out. He would just get out of the front and close the door and walk away oblivious, leaving you stuck. 6, he tried to make a steak once by turning on the stove and putting a teeny tiny cast iron pan, think something that fits maybe 3 eggs, on full heat, on one of the largest burners, with no oil or butter or anything. Then he dropped a giant steak into it, sees it overflow onto the stovetop like a pie crust you haven't trimmed yet. Then he just walked away to watch soccer in his room. I came home to a completely black, smoke-filled kitchen and a seriously messed up glass burner with steak burned onto it. Turns out he disabled the smoke detectors because they were too loud, and he was just staring at his steak burning and fusing to the pan and burner. He looked up at me and just kinda shrugged and goes, "I don't understand why it's so smoky. I disabled the smoke alarms." This man really thought that the alarms were what caused the smoke to be so bad. I cannot stand that this person exists in the world. Remembering him raised my blood pressure. I will never understand how he goes from blithering idiot to polished high-earning salesman making $200,000 every day on his way to work. He's 2 completely different people. I apologize again for the length, but thanks for making it through my rant. This was kind of cathartic to write out. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called LovelyDK. It says, "I know how is this person even alive is a common question here, but man, that finger incident really makes me question his lifespan." OP responded to this one and said, "I still have so many questions about that night that I'll never get answers to." Another commenter down below called Tar Nuine said, "No way. I risk losing my faith in humanity if I believe this guy actually exists." OP responded to this one and said, "I could send you his photo, laughing my butt off. I look at it sometimes when I feel like an idiot to remind myself that I'm okay." Great story, and it's kinda disappointing that we don't have an update on Kevin, but I'm gonna take a wild guess based on everything we know about him. Oh, that he's probably a politician by now. This story comes to us from Henry for Haley. My roommate was a Kevin. I recently found out about this subreddit and needed to post about my college roommate last year. For background information, I go to a respected state school and had a roommate move in a month into school because he dropped out of his program that had a special dorm. Here are some of the unbelievable stories. Didn't put the rail guard on his raised bed because he'd never fallen off a bed. He fell off in a week. Left milk out for 12 hours multiple times and then complained that it tasted funny. Dad told him to buy flowers in advance for Valentine's Day. He bought them a week in advance and didn't put them in water. They died. He did wait till the day of Valentine's Day to get a dinner reservation and was shocked when every place was booked. Got into an argument with me when jumping his girlfriend's car because he wanted to hook the negative to the positive because opposites attract like magnets. Went barefoot in the shower because he thought the soap runoff killed all the germs. He was obese and wanted to lose weight, so he decided to fast. The problem was, his only meal of the day would be a 3,000 calorie fast food order, usually from Taco Bell or McDonald's. He didn't lose any weight and gave up after a week. He lost his room key about once a month, would buy a new one and end up finding it later, usually in a pants pocket or next to the toilet. He slept through an appeal meeting for a scholarship he lost. He got it because of his dad's military status, and it was for a lot of money. Did a job interview in the common area while sitting on a low sitting chair and having the computer resting on his stomach. He didn't get the job. His girlfriend went to a sketchy frat almost every Friday, had recently gotten kicked off campus due to a series of incidents. Once, she accidentally drunk FaceTimed him from a bedroom and convinced him it was her girlfriend's room. Didn't check on the bus schedule and assumed the buses ran at 5 a.m. on a Saturday, had to drop $100 plus on an Uber to the airport. Thought he could easily change majors to engineering, the most competitive major at the university, which usually needs a 3.5 plus GPA. He told his advisor this, who was generally stunned. Started smoking and claimed it was non-addictive and just a way to relax, like having a beer on Friday. Casually asked if I knew anyone over 21 who could buy cigarettes a month later. Got locked out of the room while in the shower, had to knock on the RA's door with nothing but a towel. He complained about his professor's foreign accent. I later found out from a friend who had her she was from Georgia and had a thick southern accent. Destroyed his sleep schedule playing video games all night and would sleep from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Slept through his calculus final. In the first semester, he got 1.42, which is a D+ average. His advisor gave easy classes for his second semester, including one called Academic Support, which was designed to boost your GPA. He got a 1.98 GPA and was kicked out of the school. Now posts on Insta bragging about community college grades with captions like, "We up big, academic weapon," and "Don't call it a comeback." I'm sure I'll think of a bunch more stuff. He did unbelievably stupid things on a daily basis. It's just hard to remember. There were a couple people in the comment section for this one that didn't understand why going barefoot in a communal shower was a bad thing. Tell me you never lived in a dorm or any other communal space without telling me you never lived in a dorm or any other communal space. I love the ending of this one where he posts, "Don't call it a comeback." Don't worry, Kevin. We're not. Nobody is. Did you know that every KCC video is also produced in podcast form? You can search for Karma Comment Chameleon on every major podcasting platform. I thank you for watching and listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.